Movie Making with Renelle Golden is brought to you by Samira Entertainment, supporting indie films and the filmmakers who create them. Stop by their website to learn more, www.samiraentertainment.com. That's www.samiraentertainment.com. Hello, everybody. We are here with Jeffri Lauren. How are you doing today, Jeffri?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing great, and I am so happy that you're here. Jeffri, you are an actress, and you just completed a film that looked kind of cool, The Last Deal.
Yes, a lot of fun.
Yeah. Was that your first feature film that you've done?
It was. It was my first film, my first feature role. So a lot of firsts, my first opportunity to kick a little butt.
Oh, I love it. Did you do like actions, like some stunts and stuff?
I did. I got to work with an amazing cast that's pretty prominent in the stunt world community. And so needless to say, that was a big part of the film. And yes, it was fun.
I love that. And I know you had done a lot of TV before, so this was like a first, but it was a first for stunts too.
It was.
It was.
Yeah. Very different from the commercial and sitcom world.
Oh, wow. So how long did it take like to learn the choreography and things like that? Were you a natural or did you need a little work or?
It was a little bit of both. I can't say that I had a lot of choreography like most of the guys did in the film, but even for little moments in terms of learning how to utilize a set gun and all those little things and making it look realistic.
Oh, wow.
Was a learning curve.
And they're all so important. Sure. Yeah. Oh, wow. Very cool. And I had watched the trailer for this film and I was blown away at how good it looks. It looks like this, I don't know, like it should be a big theatrical release. It's a gorgeous film.
Wasn't it done so well? I was impressed myself. I mean, I always knew it was going to be a great story. And, but again, it was my first feature film and you don't know what you don't know. And yeah, when I saw it, I was like, wow.
This is nice, huh? Do you have, after doing a film, since it is somewhat different to do a feature versus television, do you have a preference or do you just love them both?
I do love them both. I can't really say that I have a preference. Now, I will say that the sitcom and commercial world has a little bit more immediate gratification. The process is much longer. And then not to mention, we did have, the film is unique in that it was filmed just before, but primarily during COVID.
Oh, wow.
So that added another time factor in the commercial and especially the commercial world. But in the sitcom world, you see things, the turnaround is really fast. So,
right.
Yeah, this was very different for me in that regard, but it took a lot of patience. And then, of course, during COVID.
It's very different when you're on set during COVID. And I'm so glad, I think in May, a lot of those restrictions finally dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I did a feature during COVID and I had done union films before, but this blew my mind, like all the zones and all the testing. And there were days you felt like, oh my God, can we pull this off? Because so much time was dedicated to the COVID factor. But You guys did an amazing job with this and you did get it done. And I heard that it's now coming out on Starz.
Yeah, it just premiered on Starz on demand. And it was live, I believe, this past Saturday.
That's cool.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that's really exciting.
That is so cool. So when you decided to become an actress, when did you know? Was there a moment in time that you were like, oh, I want to do this, or did it just happen?
It's been a roller coaster, honestly. I actually started my acting career very, very, very young. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and my very first commercial was at 2 years old for Polaroid.
Oh, that's cool.
I kind of had and I kind of had a kind of traditional was discovered kind of story. My mom was in a mall. The agent in this case turned out to be legitimate, and she's sending my pictures, and it kind of just took off from there. So I started off in the commercial world quite a bit, and then I kind of just let life happen. I moved to Houston when I was in high school, but I was heavily involved in theater in high school and college. And then I actually kind of just dabbled. It's one of those things that if I made time for it or could make time for it, great. But life happens and you work and you're living.
Yes.
And then I decided to move back to LA full time in 2019 to really give it a solid go. I was kind of booking some things on a regular basis.
Oh, wow.
And then
you did that just in time, right? For the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
oh,
Yeah, so it had always
wow.
been kind of something that fit into my life as more so of a hobby, a passion hobby. So yeah, so that kind of took its turn once I decided to move back to LA in 2019 and see where it takes me.
Oh, wow. So for you, this is it. This is your career now. What do you kind of see yourself doing, or what is something you hope to accomplish like in the next few years within this career now?
Oh gosh, well this is dreaming, but dreams can come true. You got to reach
Yes, yes.
for the what is it? Reach for the moon and land on the stars, something like that. I'm horrible
Yeah.
with
Oh, I love
sayings.
that. Yeah. Sky's the limit.
But
I really don't know.
uh,
That's great.
right.
Yeah.
Emmy and Oscar is always every actor's dream, but I also just have certain roles that I would love to be able to do. Comedy is kind of like a first love for me, comedic improv. And so
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
biggest idol or icon for me that's had the biggest influence, I think, on my career is Lucille Ball. So I would
Oh,
love to
wow.
do a comedic sitcom one day.
Oh, that would be awesome. She was a very
So
physical actress. Like her comedy was always physical. It
absolutely.
wasn't what do they call that? It wasn't that physical, but it was very physical in how she made us laugh and used her body for the whole thing. Like she could be dancing or doing something
Absolutely.
silly. Yeah, that's a great idol to have. How interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so your preference is
Yeah.
comedy. Comedy is probably harder to do than drama. So
You
that's
would
that's an
think, right?
interesting. Do you find it harder?
Yeah. I think comedy's always come natural to me because it's such a big part of what I've had to do as far as commercially.
Okay.
And it's just what I grew up naturally studying.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's always just kind of been a part of me. So I guess it just depends, but I love it so much. It'd be a great challenge. So
That
that's
would be
on my bucket
cool.
list.
Yeah, that's a great bucket list to have. And I imagine it will happen. You never know, but it probably
Fingers crossed.
will. Do you have somebody out there you would love to work with? Do you have like
Oh
that
my
dream
gosh.
person on screen?
The list goes on and on.
Oh.
So I actually dropped a bug in his ear because I had the chance to cross paths with him once
Oh, wow.
pre-COVID. I feel like we time everything pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Oh
So
boy, we do.
pre-COVID,
We
I
do,
crossed
yeah.
paths with Robert Downey Jr. I think he's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
His range is just incredible. I'm a huge fan of Will Smith.
Oh,
I grew up
yes,
loving him, so
absolutely.
I feel like before I leave this earth, I either have to meet or work with him in some capacity.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Gosh, who else? The list is long. I
That's
mean, it's just so many greats to work with.
that is so cool though. Have you had like a favorite role so far? Or we probably will say it's the last deal, but
I'm biased because it's a first for me, right? So,
right.
a lot of the things that I've done in the past have been, I don't want to say repetitive, they've all been different in their way, but the same industry. But this was the most exciting for me.
Yes.
Again, because it was a first feature and just seeing that process outside of being, mostly in film, like a background actor or a guest role, but actually being
Right.
fully involved as a feature role was so
Tremendous.
much fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just
Wow.
really cool having that camaraderie, amongst the cast because you work with each other so much more than you otherwise would in the commercial world, just kind of in and out. And, you work for
Yeah.
a day or two together at most. So,
That's true.
and during such a sensitive time. So it was that's definitely my favorite experience. And I'm curious if I'll ever have anything that tops it because of just the dynamics of all the things involved with that
Yeah.
particular film. Mm-hmm.
It seems like such an amazing project. So since you went to LA in 2019, how have you changed as an actress? How do you feel your path has changed?
Oh, tremendously. Like most during that time, I had a expectation, right?
Right,
And a
right.
timeline. And so, navigating your career during a pandemic was interesting.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, you kind of had to embrace a huge change in the industry with how you engage casting directors at this point solely with your cell phone, right?
Right, right.
Where you're expecting to be able to engage in person, how you conduct business, everything just seemed to be, a little bit more impersonal.
Yeah, very automated
So,
or mechanical. Do you see it
yeah.
changing now as restrictions are lifting? Are you finding that the in-person auditions are coming back? Or are we going to hold on to that very, video submission, digital way of doing things?
I had my first in-person audition a few months ago, but it seems that the digital way is kind of sticking, and there's benefits to it. I do prefer engaging in person, but, I guess at home you can do a million takes and send in your best at the same time.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. I was wondering, maybe casting directors will go back to the old way. But because of that, I know some people I casted in this last project that I did, they clearly sent in their best. And when we got them on set, I remember thinking to myself, I wonder how many takes they did for the audition.
Right.
But,
right.
But on the other hand,
you'll never know.
Yeah. But maybe you're able to submit more to more things, like the sky's the limit, because you can be submitting in New York or Miami or Atlanta and LA all at the same time.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That's true. I do miss kind of the off the cuff, one time only, even not often, but even getting some in the moment direction can sometimes help,
Yes.
with properly interpreting things. So I miss it. I'll be honest. That was my personal preference, but we make it work. But I do hope that there will be more in person.
Yeah, I hope so too. I love in-person auditions for talent because you can see if they can improv. If you need them to scream in the part, you can have them scream. Like, you can just engage them so much more and learn what they're really all about. But, definitely our world in this industry has changed a lot. What advice would you give to somebody now stepping in to become an actor or an actress?
Just go. I think that one of my, again, because of just having an unorthodox, I feel like, story and bopping in and out of the industry, you're always going to feel like, there's something that you have to do in order to get started, whether that's another class or whether that's, getting coaching. And, I think sometimes it can be difficult as an actor to lean in on what's your own self-study and what and just pulling the trigger and not being afraid to make mistakes. I would say to the new or to the person considering or who's invested their time to just do it and not hesitate and pursue it sooner than later.
Yeah, they just have to kind of claim it, don't they? So what do you think about talent coming up today and how they can brand themselves? Because often I see them all over the place, and in every place they seemingly have a different identity from, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. What advice would you share?
Gosh, I talk about this with my peers all the time. We are always back and forth and undecided with how much do we invest in cultivating a brand, but then how much is that effective in relationship to being casted and as actors?
Right.
And I feel like it can go both ways. It's just the individual person's preference. I love social media in the sense that I like to be able to show my personality. And, you talked a little bit about comedy, and it's a great space for me for that.
Yes.
But by that same token, I was just looking at a film, George Foreman's life story, and there was an actor who did an amazing interpretation of his role as Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had said to myself, oh my God, who is this guy? I haven't seen him or heard of him before. And so I went to his Instagram, and it was very the norm, just kind of sometimes posted and pictures of family every so often, but it didn't really tell me much about what he had coming up or anything like that. And I said, that's a prime example that there are so many amazing actors getting amazing roles that's completely unrelated to their social media. And then you have some amazing actors that it's a platform for them to be able to do things in the industry. Right. So by vast majority, it's really hard to say in terms of one direction or the other. But if you have a knack for it and you enjoy it, I say, why not? I'm sometimes personally just a little leery, though.
There is an ugly side to it.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm convinced that I want a brand related to who I am, because it's my job to interpret either a character. So who I am is irrelevant. Also,
that's a good point.
Even with representing commercial brands, I know that that's a big space in social media, but in true traditional commercials that are produced and, all those things, my likeness being at the forefront is not a plus. So for me, I don't feel that engaging in social media is necessarily best for me, but I've definitely seen where it's worked for others. So,
do you think in some cases, or is this becoming a norm, that it's helping people to book their roles, their numbers? I hear that all the time. What is their following? We want to talk to this person. And I'm just like, really? You want the best person for the job. Why do their numbers matter? But I am hearing this constantly.
Yeah, and that's every industry, right? Is that at some point, sometimes it comes down to numbers, and that can hinder the authenticity sometimes of the best when it comes to creativity. However, that's reality. That's the reality that we live in. But again, by vast majority, I don't think that that's a factor, if I'm honest.
I hope not. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I look at what is, again, the majority of actors that aren't known, but that are full-time working actors. When you look at the amount of TV shows and just the amount of actors out there.
Right.
I'm not seeing that their social media is a factor in relationship to their careers.
I like that. But that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and in the end, isn't that your goal, to be a full-time working actor and not necessarily be a social media influencer, as I guess is what they call them these days?
Absolutely. And I think social media can sometimes skew our ideas of what being an actor is. And sometimes acting and fame are synonymous, but there are so many working actors that are making an amazing living for themselves, doing what they love.
And they're happy.
That not everyone knows who they are.
Right. Right.
So it just depends on what someone's goal is, because there is space for both, but traditionally speaking, I think that the tradition is tried and true, and so far is kind of sticking like glue. Yeah. And I did not expect that to rhyme.
Yeah, I liked it. It was perfect. Let's try a rap. No, I love it. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you? We're talking about social media.
Yes. So social media wise, I'm pretty much Jeffri Lauren across the board. Jeffri Lauren, Lauren's traditionally so, not so much Jeffrey.
Right.
But I can be found on social media. I do post fun, silly things every so often.
I love
but that is, it's a fun space for me. I do travel often. So that's kind of my hub for, travel and silly perspectives in regards to travel.
Oh, nice. Nice. Well, I'm really glad that you joined us here today. I want to do a wrap up of my favorite questions I like to ask people, and I call this 5 for 5. And they're just personal questions for people to know more about you. But before we begin, is there any last things you wanted to share?
Not offhand, but thank you so much for having me, Renelle. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, all right, well, let's do the 5 for 5, and people can find out, some fun stuff about you. So, first question is, what is your favorite food?
Ooh, so I'm a horrible cook, but I do eat out often. And my favorite meals are usually Indian food, sushi, and Thai food. That's pretty much my weekly rotation.
Oh, I love that. I had someone once, he just said meat. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, anything that's meat.
I love it.
I'm like, okay. It was
That's
awesome.
Funny. Easy to please.
Yeah, I love that. Like, okay, I'll just put some turkey there. Yeah, it was great. Okay, number 2, your favorite thing to drink after a very long day on set?
Ooh, definitely a Malbec. A good Malbec is always a good unwind at the end of the day or night.
Okay, I'm going to sound old maybe. What is that?
Red wine.
Oh,
it's kind of heavy bodied. It's a little spicy. It's great if you're a red wine fan and you're okay with nothing being too sweet.
Ooh,
a good Malbec
okay.
is good. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And it's called a Malbec?
Yeah, Malbec. So if you want to be fancy and you have a good steak, just order a good Malbec with it.
Oh, that's awesome. I learned something new. I never had heard that before. I should try it. It sounds great.
It's so good.
Yes. Okay, here's one, and this is not film related. What is one thing you have always dreamed of doing, but you haven't done yet?
Oh, wow. Always dreamed of doing that I haven't done yet. Ooh, because I'm such a daredevil, so I've checked off a number of things.
Oh no, like running with bulls or skydiving or something.
I know. What's the latest? I haven't skydived yet, but the older that I get, the less inclined I feel to do it.
Yeah. They would have to, I would tie myself to the plane or something.
No, seriously. Oh my gosh, what's something I haven't done that I want to do? Oh, we were just talking about daredevil stuff too. And I'm like, I've really done a lot of crazy things. I would say maybe actually learning. I've done a lot of like plane flying, like going, on helicopters and small planes and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But learning to actually fly a plane, like the instrumentation and all of that. I've done a discovery flight. Yeah, that's actually feasible to get a private license, but that's definitely something on my bucket list at some point that I have in the
badass. Like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, fly a
that
cute
would be
little
fun.
Cessna.
Yeah. Okay, here's a fun one. What is your favorite song to sing at the top of your lungs when you're in the car and you think no one can hear you?
Oh my gosh, anything Earth, Wind, and Fire, just because I'm obsessed with all their harmonies, and I think that I'm like a fourth or fifth member of
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. When I was young, that was the band. I think it was the 70s, late 70s that I discovered them. They were amazing.
Yeah, depending on the age demographic, they're going to be like, what? And I'm like,
yeah,
Finding Nemo or something.
Oh no, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, last question is, what is your favorite movie?
My absolute favorite movie. Gosh.
One of them. It doesn't have to be your absolute.
You know what? This one kind of is my absolute because it's a childhood thing combined with just being an amazing movie and what they accomplished at the time visually. Oh. The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah. That was an amazing film, an amazing storytelling, considering back in the day, they only had practical effects when they made that. It's a very cool movie. Good choice. So thank you, Jeffri, for coming here today. And I do hope you'll come back and talk with me again.
Of course I will. Thank you for having me, dear. Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Today's show is sponsored by Gym Kitty, helping women on their health and wellness journey by providing high-quality, organically sourced vitamins and supplements. Visit them today at www.gymkitty.net. You've been listening to Movie Making with Renelle Golden. Be sure to come back for our next episode where we bring you the people who make movies you love. Got a topic about filmmaking you want to hear on our podcast? Send us an email at moviemakingpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
This podcast has been sponsored by Samara Entertainment.